Yo, how are we today? Thanks for checking in to the Sick Podcast Steelers. Crazy, find us at Sick Pod Steelers. Shout out Steel City Wheelhouse down there. Always rocking with us. Appreciate that. And this guy we're bringing on today has been rocking with us for a long time. He's absolutely fantastic. One of the best draft nicks out there. He's been breaking down some of our Steelers prospects that have been connected to Pittsburgh throughout this process and giving you guys an idea of what to potentially look for, and as we get towards the end of April in the NFL draft. So today we're talking another wide receiver, a couple of them actually out of the Lone Star State. We're excited to do it. Some fast risers, and Sammy, after you run it, let's rock.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Harris Smith shields. Flacco Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
After you guys have watched these, this guy needs no introduction. Honestly, we'll just bring him right in. It's John Vogel. John, how are you?
Great, man. And you?
I'm doing well, doing really well. The sun's shining down here in Florida. Like I said, I've got my Angry Runs shirt on. This is one of my favorite. I'll shout out Kyle Brandt. He's done a great job with these and given some of those scepters, the Pittsburgh Steelers, along the way. So a lot of angry guys we've talked about with some bulldog demeanor in these draft profiles so far. And, obviously a lot of great prospects potentially for the Steelers at pick 20. We're going to talk receivers today. And like I said, I want to go down to Texas. This is a team that had a great season. College football playoff. I'm not sure a ton of people projected that out of the gates. Quinn Ewers had a great year, but it certainly helped a lot that he had some dynamic receivers. And I want to start with Adonai Mitchell, who has drawn some comps to George Pickens. I have seen that. Tell me how you feel about this kid and give me a breakdown.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. That was the first player he reminded me of.
We don't need you then. Well, we'll see you. We'll see you later. And no, kidding.
No, it's ironic too because he's a transfer from Georgia. He played at Georgia for 2 years and spent this last year at Texas. But he's a very toolsy prospect with some raw athletic ability. Yet still being polished as an athlete, and as a route runner. There are things for Mitchell to clean up, certainly, but his prowess as a twitchy athlete makes him dangerous as a runner in the open field, as a route runner, creating separation. So if you want to talk about build and measurable and testing wise, he compares best to Terrence Marshall, who was a second-round pick to the Carolina Panthers a couple of years ago. Now, 4.3, 440, 39.5-inch vertical, 11.4 broad jump. I mean, these are absurdly ridiculous numbers that he put up at the University of Texas and going to the combine. So I thought he's a good runner. I really like the way that he stays low through his breaks. A lot of times he's so fast through his breaks, it looks like it's almost, like it's not real. It looks almost like it's in one of those AI videos because he's just getting through everything so fast. You're like, that just doesn't look right, because it's that good. He's a very, very good route runner. Ran a good complex route tree while he's at Texas, and he's nuanced. He's got the stutter moves. He knows how to work back to the quarterback. He can draw flags, to draw contact. He's got good, strong hands. He waits till the last second to throw them. He was very consistent. He had one drop in the last 2 years between Georgia and Texas. Yeah. So there's some stuff here, that you can work with, and he looks like, and he's built like a number one wide receiver. That's the last thing is we talk about we're getting away from the traditional X and Y and Z types and going to a more 1 and 2 type look, right? So you got your 1, that's your guy that can dominate, that can win against pretty much any matchup that you're going to, teams are going to game plan against to take him out of the game. And then you got your 2. And you can have multiple 2s, but those are your complementary guys. Mitchell's a 1, he can step in. Pickens is a 1, so I think it's going to be interesting. There's not a lot of teams that can get, 2-1 wide receivers because First off, wide receivers tend to be an ego-fed position just by, trait. So a lot of times it's really hard to have two number ones in the same locker room. But if you can get them in there, these guys went to the same school. They're both at Georgia, albeit different times, but they went to the same school. So they have that in common. Georgia Bulldogs stay together even when they leave. And so there's good stuff there to work with. It's just going to kind of come down to, can one of these guys take on more of a 2 role and embrace that if you were to end up taking him?
It sounds like a really good problem to have, because I've seen a lot of folks comparing the two and saying, do we really need, or I should say, somebody who would play more of the slot would be better. But you're having two.
You got a slot.
I'm like, bad problem, right?
Yeah, you got a slot. Like let's just take a second to shout out Calvin Austin, okay? Because when you are as small as Calvin Austin is, it's really hard to run anything over 4.5. And this guy ran a 4.31. Like, get out of here. Take the kitchen door with you. Like, holy cow, you can fly. Okay, so you got a slot. What you really need in Pittsburgh is your number 2. Okay, your guy that's going to complement George. Or if you think you could get a guy that's going to be better than George, get George to be the 2, to be the complement, and put this guy in at 1. So that's kind of what I'm saying is, if you take this guy, one of those guys is going to have to be the 2, because they're both 1 type receivers. You got your slot. I wouldn't even worry about your slot. You got your tight end too. Hey, you got a running back that can play out of the slot too, that's on this freaking show with you, So Jaylen Warren is legitimate. Exactly. So that's the point, right? Is, you've got those weapons. You just really need that number 2 wide receiver at this point.
What a perfect transition, talking about speed. Another Texas wide receiver, Xavier Worthy, maybe the fastest human on planet Earth right now. He's another cheetah out there, that's for sure. But has his stock jumped too high because of that 40 time, or were you a Worthy fan already because you anticipated him running that fast? Maybe not that fast. But
no, I did not anticipate him running that fast.
Yeah.
I mean, the fastest time in NFL Combine history.
Yeah.
Like, nobody.
But the guys on that list, John, on that list are John Ross and Hayward Bay. Should we expect this guy to be different?
I think we can a little bit, So when you kind of go back to Hayward Bay and to John Ross, these were guys that were one-trick ponies. They had speed. And that's how they won in their matchups. And people get mad at me for saying, "Oh, John Ross was way more than that at Washington." No, not really. Go back and look at the tape. He was a one-trick pony. And they used his speed. That's what they used him for. Worthy's a little bit more than that. He was a little bit of a gadget utility player this year at Texas. I think he played some quarterback in high school as well. They had him throw a couple passes this year on trick plays and stuff, so he could bring a little bit more to it. Now, the thing with Worthy is, excuse me, he's a multifaceted speedster. He's very productive over his 3 seasons at the University of Texas. Reminded me a lot of Henry Ruggs, on the football field, not off of it.
Another guy.
But this is a guy that 197 catches in 3 years, 2,755 yards, 26 touchdowns. This is a guy that was very productive. And you can't really be that productive, with a talented group of wide receivers around you if, you're a one-trick pony. So what you do see him do is he's got good footwork through his breaks. You see that he's a good run-after-catch weapon. He's very difficult to bring down in the open field, not just because of his speed, but because he has some contact balance. He can absorb contact and break tackles. So those are good things too. But 4.21, 41-inch vertical. I mean, golly, this guy can fly. And you want to talk about putting him in this lineup. Like we were just talking about Calvin Austin having all this speed. We were talking about Jaylen Warren being able to play out of the slot and George Pickens being a tester. Yeah, Xavier Worthy would be a real fun one. I just don't know if they would pull the trigger on him at 20 or if they would try to move back or move up in the second round and see if they couldn't, if he's still sitting there, if he can get past Kansas City at 32.
Last bit of this. If you were drafting Mitchell or Worthy, where would you take them? And then what is your projected round for them in terms of where will they be selected?
I think they're both off the board by the 35th pick. I don't think either one of them are going to be there 3 picks into the second round, is what I'm saying. So I think that they're either going to go first or they're going to be, very, very early second round picks. And that's about where I would take them, because the thing about the draft is it is a little bit of an auction, in the sense of you are trying to get guys as late as you can, because with every pick that goes by, the amount that you're going to have to pay them drops a little bit. So that's a whole nother factor in the draft. That's a whole episode we could talk about, just how you have to structure, your salary cap to match the picks that you have, and that you're trading money when you're trading picks. It's really money that you're moving. So I think because of what these guys can bring, the talent that they have, the production that they've given to their schools, whether it be Georgia or Texas, Mitchell was at Georgia for 2 years. So these are guys that would be well worth first round money, and guys that could come in and contribute pretty much right away, and offer, way more than just speed and explosiveness. They're going to be able to offer a lot after the catch. And that's what's king right now in the NFL, is run after catch. If you can pick up extra yards, run in a little drag route, turn a 4-yard drag route or a 7-yard slant into 20, 30, or a touchdown, this is what makes wide receivers get paid now.
He's got an eye for Adonai, and he thinks Xavier is worthy. My job to be cheesy every once in a while on the podcast, that's for sure. Find him at Draft Vogel. Great host, Sick Pod NFL Draft. Bunch of great stuff for NFL Draft Lounge. John, we've really appreciate your time each time. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.